November 12, 1998. 11:47 p.m. Robert Earl Thompson walks away from his welding station. His coffee is still steaming. His tools are still running. The metal he was working on, still glowing red hot. 47 minutes later, he's gone. Not missing from the parking lot. Not missing from the building. Missing from inside a locked factory. A 500,000 square foot fortress surrounded by chain link fences, armed security guards, and cameras at every exit. 380 workers on the floor that night. Not one of them saw him leave. The police search every room, every closet, every storage space, every vehicle. They bring dogs. They review footage. They interview everyone. Robert Earl Thompson simply vanished. Here's what makes your blood run cold. Both exits were locked from the inside. The cameras never stopped rolling. No windows were broken. No doors were forced. A 29-year-old father of two walked down a hallway to use the restroom and stepped off the face of the earth. The question that haunted Detroit for 20 years, where did he go? The answer, hidden in factory blueprints, is far more terrifying than anyone imagined. Before we uncover what really happened in that corridor, do me a favor, drop a comment right now telling me what country you're watching from. Are you in the United States? The UK? Australia? India? I want to know where you are in the world. And if you're fascinated by cold cases that finally get solved, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what you're about to hear, the way this case was cracked, it's going to leave you stunned. Now, let's talk about who Robert Thompson really was. Robert Earl Thompson wasn't supposed to be a victim. He was supposed to be a father at his daughter's wedding. A grandfather teaching kids how to change spark plugs. A retired man restoring vintage cars in his garage. Born in Detroit on March 4, 1969, Robert grew up in the city's east side during the tail end of Motown's golden era. His father worked at Ford. His uncles worked at Chrysler. For Robert, the automotive industry wasn't just a job, it was family legacy. He met Denise Carter at Cass Technical High School in 1986. She was a junior. He was a senior with grease permanently under his fingernails and dreams of opening his own restoration shop someday. They married 2 years later, young, in love, and broke. By 1998, Robert had been working at Riverside Assembly Plant for 8 years. Reliable. Quiet. The kind of guy who showed up 15 minutes early and stayed late if the line was backed up. His coworkers described him as solid. Not flashy, not dramatic, just steady. He had 2 daughters, Melissa, 7 years old, and Kayla, 4. Melissa was already showing signs of inheriting her father's mechanical mind. She could name car parts by age 5. Kayla was the artist, always drawing pictures of their family. Saturday mornings were sacred in the Thompson household. Robert would take the girls to the diner on Gresham Avenue. Pancakes for Melissa. French toast for Kayla. Black coffee for Dad. Then they'd stop by the hardware store, the girls trailing behind him as he picked up parts for whatever project was occupying the garage that month. He was restoring a 1967 Mustang Fastback, Acapulco Blue, his dream car. It sat in the garage half-finished, waiting for time he never seemed to have. When I retire, he'd tell Denise, I'm finishing that car and we're driving to California. November 12, 1998 started like any other day. Robert woke up at 2 p.m., the rhythm of a night shift worker. Had lunch with his family. Helped Melissa with her math homework. Kissed his wife goodbye at the front door at 9:15 p.m., lunch pail in one hand, thermos in the other. See you in the morning, he said. I'll bring donuts. Denise Thompson would replay that moment 10,000 times over the next 20 years. The smile. The casual wave. The screen door closing behind him. She never saw her husband again. Riverside Assembly Plant sprawled across 12 acres of Detroit's industrial corridor, a concrete monument to American manufacturing. Built in 1968 at the height of automotive dominance, the facility ran 3 shifts 24 hours a day, producing truck chassis for the Big Three. The building was massive, 500,000 square feet across 3 floors. Assembly lines snaked through the space like steel intestines. Welding stations sparked in rhythmic bursts. The smell was distinct, hot metal, industrial oil, ozone from electrical systems, and the sharp tang of cutting fluid. Security wasn't casual. This was 1998 Detroit, a city still grappling with crime, union tensions, and corporate espionage. The plant was surrounded by 8-foot chain-link fencing topped with barbed wire. 2 entry points, both manned by security guards around the clock. Everyone swiped badges coming in and going out. Security cameras covered main corridors, loading docks, and exit points. 380 workers staffed the night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Most were lifers like Robert, men who'd been there since the 70s and 80s. The factory floor was deafening, workers wore industrial ear protection. Communication happened through hand signals and shouting. The layout was labyrinthine. Main assembly floor on level 1. Welding and chassis work on level 2. Parts storage and management offices on level 3. Corridors connected everything, some wide enough for forklifts, others narrow passages for foot traffic only. Robert worked in Section C, second floor. Station C47. Chassis welding. His job, precision welds on truck frame joints. Repetitive work requiring focus and skill. He'd done it so many times he could probably weld in his sleep. The night shift had a particular energy, quieter than day shift, more focused. Supervisors walked the floor with clipboards. Quality control inspectors checked welds randomly. Breaks were staggered to keep production flowing. It was a controlled environment. Predictable. Safe. Or so everyone thought. Because somewhere in that massive building, hidden in architectural plans that had been filed away and forgotten, was a passage that wasn't supposed to exist. A passage that would become a tomb. Let's reconstruct November 12, 1998, minute by minute. 10 p.m. Robert Earl Thompson swipes his badge at the employee entrance. Security log confirms. Badge number 3847, Thompson, R. 22 hours and 3 seconds. He's on time as always. 10:15 p.m. Robert takes his position at station C47 alongside Marcus Webb, his regular welding partner. Marcus would later tell police, Rob seemed normal. Maybe quieter than usual, but nothing that stood out. We'd been working together for 3 years. I knew his moods. That night? Just another night. 11:30 p.m., first break. Robert heads to the second floor break room. Security footage shows him carrying his lunch pail, walking with 2 other welders. Eats a turkey sandwich. Drinks coffee. Chats about the Lions' terrible season. Laughs at someone's joke about the supervisor's toupee. 11 minutes of completely normal behavior. 11:43 p.m. Robert returns to station C47. Resumes welding. Sparks fly. The chassis piece in front of him is half finished. He'll complete it by 1 a.m. if he maintains pace. 11:47 p.m. Robert sets down his welding torch. Says something to Marcus. Marcus, wearing ear protection, doesn't hear clearly. Robert gestures, the universal sign for bathroom. Marcus nods. Robert walks toward the east corridor. Security camera E7 captures him at 11:47 and 22 seconds p.m. Walking normally. No signs of distress. Alone. He turns the corner into the hallway leading to the second floor restroom. 11:49 p.m. Camera E7 shows an empty hallway. Robert should have emerged by now. The restroom is a straight shot. 30 seconds there, maybe 2 minutes inside, 30 seconds back. 12:05 a.m. Marcus Webb notices the empty station. Figures Robert is taking a longer break. It happens. Maybe stomach trouble. Maybe he ran into someone and got talking. 12:20 a.m. Floor supervisor, Gerald Hutchins, walks past station C47. Sees it unmanned. Asks Marcus, where's Thompson? Marcus, restroom. Been a while though. Hutchins frowns. Go check on him. Marcus walks to the restroom. Empty. No Robert. Checks the stalls, all empty. Checks the locker room. Empty. Asks workers in the area. No one's seen him. 12:34 a.m. Marcus reports back to Hutchins. Can't find him. Now it's a problem. Hutchins radios security. We've got a missing worker. Thompson, station C47. 12:45 a.m. Security reviews camera E7 footage. Confirms, Robert entered the corridor. Never exited. 3 security guards searched the area. Restroom, empty. Storage closets, empty. Adjoining corridors, empty. 1:15 a.m. Full factory-wide search initiated. Supervisors pull workers off the line. Teams sweep every floor, every room, every corner. Nothing. 2:30 a.m. Detroit Police Department arrives. Detective Raymond Pierce takes command. Within an hour, he knows this isn't a normal missing person case. Men don't vanish from locked buildings. But Robert Earl Thompson just did. Detective Raymond Pierce was 43 years old in 1998. 20 years on the job. He'd worked homicides, narcotics, gang violence. Detroit had given him every flavor of crime. But this was new. By 3 a.m. on November 13th, Pierce had assembled the facts. Robert Thompson entered a hallway at 11:47 p.m. He never exited that hallway. The hallway led only to a restroom and 2 locked storage closets. No windows. No alternate exits. No access to other floors. Security footage showed no one else entering or leaving the corridor during that time frame. Pierce interviewed Marcus Webb first. Marcus was shaken, cooperative, confused. "We've worked together for 3 years, man. He just said he had to hit the head. That's it. I don't understand how he's gone." Polygraph administered at 5 a.m. Marcus passed. Next, Gerald Hutchins, the night shift supervisor. 47 years old, 15 years at Riverside. His alibi was airtight. Badge swipes confirmed he was in his third-floor office from 11:30 p.m. to 12:45 a.m., reviewing production reports. When Marcus reported Robert missing, Hutchins immediately initiated search protocol. "Robert was a good worker," Hutchins told Pierce. "Never any trouble. Never absent. I can't explain this." Polygraph administered at 7 a.m. Hutchins passed. By dawn, K9 units arrived. German shepherds trained in search and rescue. The dogs tracked Robert's scent from station C47 to the east corridor. Then stopped. Right at the restroom entrance. The handlers were baffled. Usually, dogs could track anywhere. But here? The scent just ended. Pierce expanded the search beyond the factory. Nearby streets. The Detroit River waterfront, 2 blocks away. Abandoned buildings. Dumpsters. Storm drains. Nothing. Background check on Robert. Clean record. No criminal history. No debts. No gambling problems. Credit cards in use that night. Bank account untouched. Cell phone, a basic Nokia. Last pinged a tower near the factory at 10:57 p.m., then went dead. Battery likely died. He'd mentioned to coworkers his phone was old. Denise Thompson was brought to the station at 8 a.m. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, face pale. Pierce asked the hard questions. Marital problems? Affairs? Financial stress? Denise's answers were consistent. "We were fine. We are fine. Robert loved his girls. He loved me. He wouldn't just leave. Something happened to him." Polygraph passed. By 72 hours, Pierce faced a reality he couldn't rationalize. Robert Earl Thompson had walked into a hallway and ceased to exist. The disappearance of Robert Thompson became Detroit's most talked about mystery within days. Workers at Riverside Assembly were terrified. If Robert, solid, reliable Robert, could vanish mid-shift, what did that mean for anyone else? Some refused night shifts. Others requested transfers. Production dropped 15% in 2 weeks. Management tried damage control. Company memo dated November 20, 1998. "The safety and security of our employees is our top priority. Additional security measures have been implemented. The investigation is ongoing. Please report any information to supervisors immediately." It didn't help. In Detroit's East Side neighborhoods, rumors spread like oil fires. At churches, grocery stores, corner bars, everyone had a theory. "I heard he was into drugs. Probably owed money to the wrong people. Union stuff. Maybe he knew something. I bet he just ran off. Men do that." Denise Thompson bore the weight of community judgment. Some neighbors were sympathetic, bringing casseroles, offering childcare, organizing prayer vigils. Others whispered behind her back. "She must know something. Maybe she did something." Wives always know. The media circus intensified. Local news ran the story nightly. Detroit Free Press headline, "Factory worker vanishes without trace, police baffled." By December, tabloid shows picked it up. Unsolved Mysteries producers reached out. Psychics called the police station claiming visions. Robert was alive in Canada. No, wait, he was dead in the river. Actually, he'd been abducted by a cult. Every tip investigated. Every tip led nowhere. The factory posted a $50,000 reward for information leading to Robert's whereabouts. Tips flooded in, over 300 in the first month. Attention seekers confessed falsely. Supposed witnesses reported seeing Robert in Ohio, Tennessee, Texas. Every lead chased down. Every lead evaporated. At 1247 Fairmont Street, the Thompson house became a shrine of waiting. Denise kept Robert's clothes in the closet. His toothbrush stayed by the bathroom sink. His coffee mug, the one that said "World's Okayest Dad," remained on the kitchen shelf. Melissa, 7, asked every night, "When's Daddy coming home?" Kayla, 4, stopped talking for 3 weeks. Candlelight vigils were held. Missing person posters plastered across the city. Robert's face, smiling in his work uniform, "Have you seen this man?" That face became iconic. Young. Ordinary. The face of every working father in America. The face of an impossible mystery. And in his garage, the 1967 Mustang Fastback sat untouched, half restored, waiting for hands that would never return. Detective Raymond Pierce couldn't let go. Officially, after 6 months, the Thompson case was classified as a cold case. New leads had dried up. The department had other priorities. Detroit's murder rate in 1999 was among the highest in the nation. Pierce was reassigned. But he kept boxes of Thompson files in his garage at home. His wife Linda watched him spiral. "Ray, you've done everything you can. You have to let it go." He couldn't. Pierce returned to Riverside Assembly dozens of times over the years. Walked the corridors. Stood in the east hallway where Robert disappeared. Stared at the restroom door as if it would reveal its secrets through sheer force of will. He re-interviewed Marcus Webb 6 times. Webb's story never changed. "I wish I could tell you something different, detective. But I can't." He just went to the restroom. Pierce investigated management. Was there corruption? Cost-cutting that led to accidents being covered up? Were unions involved? Was organized crime siphoning money through the plant? Dead ends. All dead ends. He studied the building itself. Requested architectural reviews. Engineers examined the structure. Were there hidden spaces? Crawl spaces? Ventilation shafts large enough for a person? Nothing unusual reported. By 2003, Pierce's captain called him in. "Ray, I'm saying this as a friend. You need to move on. This case is eating you alive." Pierce nodded. Kept investigating. His marriage suffered. Linda left in 2005. "You love that ghost more than you love me," she said on her way out. She wasn't entirely wrong. Pierce retired in 2008 at age 53. Mandatory retirement. The department threw him a party. Gave him a plaque. Everyone avoided mentioning the Thompson case. In retirement, Pierce had time. Too much time. He started a personal project. Obtaining every piece of documentation related to Riverside Assembly Plant. Building permits. Renovation records. Original construction blueprints. The factory had been renovated twice, 1975 and 1989. Minor modifications both times. But Pierce wanted to see the plans. Compare them. Maybe something changed. Maybe something was hidden. He filed requests with Detroit's municipal archives. Bureaucracy moved slowly. Forms. Fees. Waiting periods. Finally, in September 2014, a package arrived at his house. Large manila envelope. City of Detroit seal. Inside, photocopies of Riverside Assembly's original 1968 blueprints and the 1989 renovation plans. Pierce spread them across his dining room table. Compared them side by side. Saw something. He reached for the phone to call the department. But his hand went numb. Pain shot through his chest. The room tilted. Raymond Pierce died of a massive heart attack on September 18, 2014. Alone in his house. The blueprints still spread on the table in front of him. He never got to make that call. He never got to explain what he'd found. The 2010s passed quietly for the Thompson case. In 2005, after 7 years of legal limbo, Denise had Robert declared legally dead. It was practical. Insurance, finances moving forward. It felt like betrayal. She remarried in 2009. A good man named Thomas. Kind. Patient. Understanding about her past. He never tried to replace Robert. He just tried to help her heal. Melissa and Kayla grew up. Melissa graduated high school in 2009, went to trade school, became a mechanic, her father's daughter. Kayla studied art, became a graphic designer. Both carried photos of their father in their wallets. Both knew him only through stories and fading memories. Anniversary coverage in the media shrank. 5-year mark in 2003, full newspaper spread. 10-year mark in 2008, brief local news segment. 15 years in 2013, a single paragraph in the Free Press, buried on page 12. The world moved on. Riverside Assembly Plant closed permanently in 2011 during the auto industry collapse. The building sat vacant. Windows broken, graffiti covering walls, the factory floor silent for the first time in 43 years. Urban explorers posted YouTube videos of the abandoned plant. Creepy hallways. Rusted equipment. Echoing spaces. Not one of them mentioned Robert Thompson. Raymond Pierce's widow, Linda, found his garage full of case files when she sold the house in 2014. She didn't know what to do with them. Eventually, she called Detroit PD. Ray never stopped working this case. I think he'd want these files to stay with the department. The boxes arrived at the cold case unit in November 2014. Evidence storage. Shelved. Forgotten. Until 2016. Detroit Police Department secured a federal grant to establish a dedicated cold case task force. Budget for 3 detectives, modern forensic technology, database access. Detective Sarah Reeves, 31 years old, sharp and ambitious, was assigned to review unsolved disappearances from the 1990s. She pulled a case at random from storage. Box label. Thompson, Robert Earl, 1998, missing person. Inside, Raymond Pierce's life's work. Decades of notes. Interview transcripts. Photos. Timeline charts. And at the bottom of the box, a manila envelope from Detroit Municipal Archives. Blueprints. Reeves spread them on her desk and saw what Pierce had seen. Detective Sarah Reeves had a rule: trust the obsessive cops. If a detective spent 20 years on one case, they weren't crazy, they'd seen something everyone else missed. She studied Pierce's notes for 3 days straight. His handwriting grew shakier in later years, but his logic remained sharp. He documented everything. Every interview. Every search. Every dead end. And his final entries, dated September 2014, focused on architectural discrepancies. Reeves pulled the blueprints from the envelope. 2 sets, original 1968 construction plans and 1989 renovation plans. She laid them side by side. Started with the second floor, where Robert vanished. The east corridor. The restroom. Storage closets. Wait. She looked closer. On the 1968 original plan, beneath the second floor east corridor, there was a maintenance tunnel. Part of the building's original coal furnace heating system from the 60s. The tunnel ran from the furnace room in the basement, angled upward, connected to various maintenance access points. The 1989 renovation plans showed modifications. The old coal furnace was decommissioned, plant switched to modern HVAC. Most of the tunnel system was filled with concrete and sealed. Most of it. But one section, a 30-foot stretch, remained open. The renovation notes indicated it was kept as emergency maintenance access for plumbing and electrical that ran beneath the second floor corridor. Access point, second floor men's restroom. A panel. Hidden in the wall. Flush with the tile to maintain aesthetics. No visible handle. Opened via internal pressure mechanism. Push a specific spot, panel releases. Why would renovators do that? Efficiency? Cost cutting? Simply leaving options open for future maintenance? The records didn't say. But here's what made Reeves' blood run cold. On current facility maps provided during the original investigation, this tunnel wasn't listed. It had been forgotten. Sealed on paper but not in reality. She grabbed her phone. Called the Detroit building commissioner. I need access to Riverside Assembly Plant. Today. That building's condemned. Scheduled for demolition next month. I need to see it before you tear it down. 3 hours later, Reeves stood outside the decaying factory with 2 structural engineers and a forensic team. They entered through a broken side door. Inside, darkness, decay, graffiti, debris. Pigeons scattered. Water dripped from burst pipes. Reeves led them to the second floor. To the east corridor. To the men's restroom. The engineers examined the walls with flashlights and tools. Traced the blueprint dimensions. Found the panel. Hidden behind years of grime, rust, and peeling paint. Completely invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. It took hydraulic tools to pry it open. 20 minutes of work. Metal shrieking. Bolts snapping. The panel fell away. Behind it, a dark opening. 3 feet wide. Sloping downward into blackness. Reeves shined her flashlight inside. Saw a crawlspace. Narrow. Descending at a 40-degree angle. She entered first. Hard hat. Flashlight. Gun drawn instinctively. The team followed. 40 feet down. The tunnel opened into a chamber. 8 feet by 10 feet. Concrete walls. Rusted pipes along the ceiling. Dust thick in the air. And in the corner, partially collapsed beneath rubble and rot. Skeletal remains. Work boots still on the feet. Remnants of a Riverside Assembly uniform. A wallet, leather cracked and molded but intact. Inside, Robert Earl Thompson's driver's license. His face, young, smiling, stared up from the plastic card. Reeves stepped back. Her radio crackled. We need the medical examiner. And crime scene unit. Now. After 20 years, Robert Thompson had been found. Wayne County Medical Examiner, Dr. Patricia Vance, received the remains on February 14, 2017. Forensic anthropology confirmed. Male, late 20s, skeletal condition consistent with approximately 20 years of decomposition in a sealed, low-humidity environment. Dental records matched definitively. Robert Earl Thompson. No doubt. Cause of death: blunt force trauma to the posterior skull. A single blow. Fracture pattern analysis indicated a cylindrical metal object, likely a pipe or similar tool. The impact came from behind. Robert never saw it coming. But here's where it gets horrifying. The injury wasn't immediately fatal. Time of death forensics, based on decomposition rates, gastric content analysis, his last meal was still partially undigested, and environmental factors, indicated Robert survived the initial blow. He died 6 to 12 hours after entering that tunnel. Meaning, someone struck him, left him there, and sealed the exit. Robert Thompson didn't die instantly. He died slowly. From brain hemorrhage, shock, and eventual organ failure. Evidence found in the chamber supported this nightmare. Bloodstains on the concrete floor beneath where his skull rested. Scrape marks on the walls, fingernail patterns indicating he tried to crawl, tried to reach the sealed panel above. His fingernails were broken. He'd clawed at the exit, trying to push it open from inside. The pressure mechanism only worked from the outside. From inside it was sealed shut. His body was positioned facing the exit, arm outstretched. He tried to escape. Dr. Vance's report concluded, victim was conscious for several hours post-injury. Evidence suggests attempted self-rescue. Death resulted from subdural hematoma and subsequent brain herniation, exacerbated by lack of medical intervention. Detective Reeves read the report in her car. Had to pull over. Sat there for 20 minutes. Robert Thompson had been alive down there. In the dark. In pain. Knowing he was trapped. And above him, 380 workers continued their shifts. Machines roared. Sparks flew. Life went on. No one heard him. No one knew. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a disappearance. This was murder. Premeditated. Calculated. Cold. Someone lured Robert into that tunnel. Struck him from behind. Sealed the entrance. And walked away. Someone who knew about the hidden passage. Someone who knew it wouldn't be found. Someone who worked at Riverside Assembly Plant. Reeves opened a new case file. Robert Earl Thompson, Homicide Investigation, 2017. It was time to find the killer. Detective Sarah Reeves rebuilt the 1998 investigation from scratch, but with new context. Who knew about the hidden tunnel? She started with the 1989 renovation. Pulled contractor records. Interviewed surviving workers. Most were retired or dead. Those still alive remembered the job but not specific details. It was 30 years ago, detective. I laid pipe. I don't remember secret tunnels. But one document caught her attention. A safety briefing memo dated March 1990, 1 year after renovation completion. Subject: sealed maintenance areas and emergency access points. The memo listed managers who attended the briefing. They'd been informed about sealed tunnels, hidden panels, and access points, for safety and liability reasons. 15 names on that list. Reeves cross-referenced them against Riverside employees in November 1998. 12 were no longer with the company by then. 2 had died in the intervening years. One name remained: Gerald Hutchins. Night shift supervisor. Section manager overseeing Robert Thompson's area. Age 47 in 1998. Reeves pulled his file. Still alive. Now 69. Retired in 2009. Living in suburban Detroit, Warren, Michigan. Small house. Quiet neighborhood. His 1998 alibi had been airtight. Badge swipes confirmed he was in his third-floor office during Robert's disappearance. He'd passed a polygraph. But Reeves dug deeper. Financial records from 1998. Hutchins' bank account showed an unexplained $35,000 deposit on November 27, 1998, 15 days after Robert vanished. The deposit came from an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Poorly hidden. Amateur money laundering. Why would a factory supervisor suddenly have $35,000? Reeves searched deeper into Hutchins' work history. Found a disciplinary file flagged, internal investigation, pending from September 1998. She requested the file from Riverside's corporate archives. Took 3 weeks to locate. When it arrived, everything clicked. Union grievance filed by Robert Earl Thompson, August 14, 1998. Robert had discovered discrepancies in worker pension fund allocations. Small amounts, $200 here, $500 there, skimmed over months from multiple accounts. Robert, who was shop steward for his section, investigated. traced the theft to one source, Gerald Hutchins. Hutchins had been embezzling from worker pensions for 2 years. Over $80,000 total. Robert filed a formal grievance with the union and corporate HR. An internal investigation began in September 1998. If the investigation concluded with evidence, Hutchins faced federal charges. Embezzlement, wire fraud, prison time. The investigation was scheduled to conclude in December 1998. Robert Thompson disappeared November 12. The investigation quietly closed in January 1999 after Robert's disappearance. Corporate memo, primary witness unavailable. Insufficient evidence to proceed. Hutchins retired with full pension in 2009. On March 1, 2018, Detective Sarah Reeves knocked on Gerald Hutchins' door in Warren, Michigan. He answered. Gray hair. Thick glasses. Cardigan sweater. He looked like someone's grandfather. Mr. Hutchins, I'm Detective Reeves with Detroit PD. I'd like to talk to you about Robert Thompson. Hutchins' face went pale. I think, Reeves said calmly, you should come with me to the station. Gerald Hutchins sat in interview room 3 at Detroit Police Headquarters. March 2018. 20 years after the murder. He didn't lawyer up immediately. That was his first mistake. Detective Reeves laid out the evidence methodically. The blueprints. The hidden tunnel. The body. The financial motive. The grievance Robert filed. The timeline. You knew about that tunnel, Mr. Hutchins. You attended the safety briefing in 1990. Your name is on the attendance sheet. Hutchins stared at the table. Said nothing. Robert Thompson was going to destroy your life. The union investigation was closing in. You'd stolen over $80,000. That's federal prison, Mr. Hutchins. 20 years minimum. Silence. So you killed him. I didn't plan it. Hutchins' first words in 40 minutes. His voice shook. Tell me what happened. Hutchins was silent for another 10 minutes. Then, I panicked. The investigation, Robert pushed for it. He wouldn't let it go. I tried to explain, told him I'd pay it back, but he said it was the principal. The principal. Hutchins laughed bitterly. I was going to lose everything. Pension. Freedom. My family. What did you do on November 12th? Hutchins closed his eyes. I told Robert during the shift that I needed to talk to him. Privately. About the grievance. Said I had something to show him, evidence that might change things. He believed me. We'd worked together for years. He trusted me. Where did you take him? The East Corridor. Away from the noise. I told him I wanted to show him something in the maintenance tunnel, documents I'd hidden there. Proof someone else was involved. He went with you willingly. Yes. I showed him the panel. He didn't even know it existed. He was curious. I pushed it open. He went in first. And then? I'd stashed a pipe in there earlier that night. During break. I followed him in. It was dark. He turned around to ask me something. I hit him. Reeves kept her voice steady. Where did you hit him? Back of the head. What? He fell. Didn't move. Was he dead? Hutchins shook his head. I don't think so. He was breathing. But he wasn't conscious. I panicked. I backed out of the tunnel and sealed the panel. You left him there to die. I don't know what I thought. That maybe he just... I don't know. Did you check on him later? No. I went to my office. Logged into my computer. Made it look normal. When Marcus reported him missing, I acted surprised. I helped search. I lied to everyone. Hutchins finally looked at Reeves. Tears in his eyes. I killed him over money. Over stupid, pointless money. I've lived with it every day for 20 years. Detective Reeves stopped the recording. You're under arrest for the murder of Robert Earl Thompson. The state of Michigan charged Gerald Hutchins with second-degree murder in May 2018. The trial began September 10, 2018. Wayne County Circuit Court. Judge Patricia O'Brien presiding. The prosecution's case was airtight. Forensic evidence. Blueprint analysis. Financial motive. Confession. The defense argued diminished capacity. Hutchins was 69, remorseful, had no prior criminal record. They painted a picture of a desperate man who made one terrible mistake and had lived with guilt for 2 decades. The jury wasn't moved. On October 4, day 18 of trial, Denise Thompson testified. Now 51 years old, remarried, but still carrying the weight of 1998. She walked to the witness stand. Looked directly at Gerald Hutchins. My daughters were 7 and 4 when you killed their father, she said. Her voice didn't waver. Melissa graduated high school without him. Kayla got married last year, walked down the aisle without him. I have grandchildren now. Robert will never meet them. Hutchins wept in his seat. You didn't just take his life, Mr. Hutchins. You took 20 years of ours. 20 years of not knowing. Of wondering. Of hoping. The courtroom was silent. I hope you understand what you stole from us. It wasn't just Robert. It was every moment he should have been there. Every birthday. Every milestone. Every ordinary Tuesday night dinner. She paused. Wiped her eyes. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I'm tired of carrying your guilt along with my grief. Hutchins couldn't look at her. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. Second-degree murder. Sentencing, November 15, 2018. Judge O'Brien's statement. Mr. Hutchins, you have expressed remorse. The court acknowledges that. But remorse does not undo murder. You left Robert Thompson to die alone in darkness. You robbed his family of closure for 20 years. This court sentences you to 25 years to life in the Michigan Department of Corrections. At 69 years old, it was effectively a life sentence. Gerald Hutchins was led from the courtroom in handcuffs. Outside, Denise Thompson stood on the courthouse steps and told reporters, "It doesn't bring Robert back. But now we know. Finally we know." Where are they now? Denise Thompson still lives in Michigan. She visits Robert's grave every month. He was finally buried with full honors in June 2019, 21 years after his death. The headstone reads, "Beloved father, husband, friend. Gone but never forgotten." Melissa Thompson, now 33, runs her own auto restoration shop in Detroit. It's called Thompson & Daughters. The logo features a 1967 Mustang Fastback. She finished restoring her father's car in 2020. It sits in her garage. She'll never sell it. Kayla Thompson, 30, is a graphic designer. She created a true crime podcast about her father's case. It's called The Blueprint. Thousands of listeners have heard Robert's story. Many have sent messages. "I never knew about your dad. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing his story." Detective Sarah Reeves received a commendation for solving a 20-year-old cold case. She credits Raymond Pierce. At the award ceremony, she held up his case files. "This wasn't me. This was him. Pierce did the work. I just finished it." Pierce's widow, Linda, attended the ceremony. She wept. The abandoned Riverside Assembly Plant was demolished in June 2020. The murder tunnel destroyed with it. Before demolition, the city installed a memorial plaque on the site. In memory of Robert Earl Thompson, 1969 to 1998. Auto worker. Father. Husband. His life was taken, but his memory endures. May all who pass here remember, every missing person is someone's loved one. Every cold case deserves justice. Gerald Hutchins remains incarcerated at Ionia Maximum Correctional Facility. He was denied parole in 2023. He'll be eligible again in 2028 at age 79. In interviews, Hutchins expresses remorse. "I destroyed 2 families. Robert's and my own. If I could go back and face the consequences of my theft instead, I would. But I can't. I made my choice." Broader implications of the case. How many other cold cases could be solved with architectural analysis? Hidden spaces. Forgotten renovations. Blueprints that don't match current maps. Detroit PD now mandates blueprint review for all missing person cases involving large buildings. Workplace safety regulations changed nationally. OSHA now requires complete architectural transparency, no sealed spaces without multiple access points, labeling, and regular inspection. Robert's death at least meant something. At least now, finally, his name means justice. Robert Earl Thompson was 29 years old when he died. He should have been 60 today. A grandfather. A retired mechanic. Maybe running that restoration shop he always dreamed about. Instead, his last hours were spent in darkness. Alone. Trapped. Knowing he was dying and no one could hear him. That's the part that haunts me most about this case. Not the murder itself, though that's horrific, but the time between. The hours Robert spent trapped, trying to escape, realizing no one was coming. Gerald Hutchins didn't just kill Robert Earl Thompson. He condemned him to die slowly, in the dark, in a space the world had forgotten existed. But here's what Hutchins couldn't kill: Robert's memory. His daughters honor him. His wife never forgot him. Detective Pierce spent his life searching for him. Detective Reeves finished what Pierce started. And now you, watching this video wherever you are in the world, you know Robert's story. You know his name. That matters. Because Robert Earl Thompson didn't just vanish. He was taken. And 20 years later, the truth found its way out of the darkness. His name is no longer synonymous with mystery. Now it's synonymous with justice. Delayed but delivered. What Detective Sarah Reeves discovered in 2017 wasn't just Robert Thompson's body. It was evidence of a pattern. A history that Riverside Assembly Plant had tried to bury along with its outdated blueprints. As Reeves dug deeper into the factory's records, a disturbing picture emerged. Robert wasn't the first person to vanish from that building. He was just the first one anyone bothered to investigate thoroughly. Let's go back. Way back. Riverside Assembly opened in 1968 during Detroit's golden age of automotive manufacturing. The plant was state-of-the-art for its time, 3 floors of cutting-edge assembly technology, designed to produce 500 truck chassis per day. The building was a marvel of industrial engineering. But from the beginning there were problems. The original architect, Howard Breslin, had designed the maintenance tunnel system as a network of passages connecting the coal furnace to various access points throughout the building. It was practical. Workers could move between floors quickly, maintenance could access pipes and electrical without disrupting production. But Breslin died in 1970, just 2 years after the plant opened. His detailed knowledge of the tunnel system died with him. The blueprints existed, filed away in municipal archives, but the day-to-day managers and workers? They forgot. Or never knew in the first place. The 1975 renovation sealed some tunnels when the plant expanded its second floor. No one documented which ones remained open. The 1989 renovation, the one Gerald Hutchins attended the safety briefing for, sealed even more. But again, documentation was incomplete. The renovation company, Midwest Industrial Contractors, went bankrupt in 1992. Their records were lost. What remained was a building with hidden arteries running through its concrete skeleton. Passages that existed in physical space but not on current maps. Reeves found something else in the corporate archives. Incident reports. March 1973. Maintenance worker James Holloway, age 34, reported missing during night shift. Last seen near the basement furnace room. Search conducted. Body found 3 days later in a maintenance corridor, heart attack. Natural causes ruled. No investigation. August 1981. Electrician David Torres, age 41, disappeared during overtime weekend shift. Found 2 days later in a sealed storage room on the 3rd floor. Dehydration and panic attack. He'd gotten locked in accidentally. Survived. Filed a safety complaint. Complaint dismissed. Employee error. November 1987. Contract welder Susan Myers, age 29, vanished during a night shift. Massive search. Police involved. Found 6 hours later in a disused section of the first-floor storage area, disoriented and hypothermic. She claimed someone pushed her and locked the door. Investigation found no evidence of foul play. She quit the next week. Moved to Ohio. Never spoke about it again. Reeves tried to contact Susan Myers in 2017. Found her in Cleveland. She was 61 by then, working as a librarian, living a quiet life. When Reeves called, Susan was silent for a long time. Then she said, "I knew someone would call eventually. I've been waiting 30 years. Susan agreed to talk. Flew to Detroit. Met Reeves at a coffee shop far from Riverside's ruins. That place was wrong, Susan said, hands wrapped around her mug. Everyone felt it but no one talked about it. The night shift especially. Things would go missing, tools, lunch boxes, jackets. You'd put something down, turn around, it'd be gone. We joked it was ghosts. What happened to you in 1987? Reeves asked. Susan's jaw tightened. I was welding on the 1st floor. Section A. Around 2 a.m., I needed to get supplies from storage. I walked down the west corridor. There was a supply room at the end. When I got there, the door was open. I went inside. The lights went out. Then I heard the door slam behind me. Someone pushed you? I felt hands on my back, shoving me forward. I tried to turn around but the door slammed. I pounded on it. Screamed. No one came. The room was soundproof, used to store loud equipment. I was in there for 6 hours in complete darkness. Did you see who pushed you? Susan shook her head. By the time they found me, I was hypothermic, barely conscious. When I told the investigators someone pushed me, they looked at me like I was crazy. Said I must have gotten disoriented. Said the door locked automatically and I triggered it by accident. But you don't believe that. I know what I felt. Someone was there. Someone wanted me in that room. Reeves showed Susan a photo. Gerald Hutchins. 1987 employee ID photo. Susan stared at it. I don't know. Maybe. There were dozens of supervisors. I can't be sure. But here's what Reeves discovered. Gerald Hutchins was working that night. November 14, 1987. And he was one of the supervisors who found Susan and unlocked the storage room. Coincidence? Reeves didn't think so. She went further back. Pulled personnel records. Cross-referenced dates of incidents with Hutchins' work schedule. When Reeves confronted Hutchins with this evidence during a prison interview in 2019, he refused to answer. His lawyer shut down the questioning. No charges were filed for the earlier incidents. Insufficient evidence, too much time had passed. But Reeves believes the pattern was clear. Gerald Hutchins had been using Riverside Assembly's hidden spaces for years. Maybe not always to kill. Maybe to intimidate. To control. To punish workers who crossed him. Robert Thompson wasn't his first victim. Robert was just the one who died. The one whose body was found. The one whose case was finally solved. The factory itself became a weapon in Hutchins' hands. He knew its secrets. The forgotten tunnels, the sealed rooms, the blind spots in security coverage. He knew where cameras didn't reach. Where screams wouldn't be heard over machinery. Where a person could disappear and no one would think to look. Riverside Assembly Plant was demolished in June 2020. The tunnels were filled with concrete before the building came down. The site is now a parking lot for a shopping center. But the ghosts remain. Construction workers reported strange occurrences during demolition. Tools missing. Unexplained cold spots. The sound of someone pounding on walls from inside sealed spaces. One demolition supervisor refused to continue working nights. He told his crew, "That building doesn't want to come down. It's holding on to something." Maybe it was holding on to its secrets. The stories it couldn't tell. The victims it swallowed. When the final wall came down, workers reported finding items in the rubble. A child's lunchbox from the 1970s, a woman's jacket from the 1980s, tools engraved with names of workers long gone. Personal effects that had vanished decades ago. All returned to the surface when the building finally released them. Reeves keeps a file on Riverside Assembly. Unsolved mysteries. Workers who quit abruptly. Reports of accidents that didn't quite add up. She doesn't think she'll ever prosecute anyone else. Too much time. Too little evidence. But she knows the truth. Riverside Assembly Plant wasn't just a factory. For 30 years it was a hunting ground. And Gerald Hutchins was its predator. If this case moved you, please hit that subscribe button. Share this video. Tell Robert's story. Because cold cases are only cold until someone refuses to let them freeze. And drop a comment telling me, what case should I cover next? Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never forget, the truth is always waiting to be found.